Hi, and welcome to Together Unlocked, brought to you as always by Together 2012. I'm Ju Gosling, also known as the artist Ju90. I'm artistic director, and with me, where she's been locked up, locked down since March 2020, is our chair, the artist and activist Julie Newman. We're going to come back to East London in a moment to tell you more about us. Bit of audio description, tell you what we're dressed up to go out to stay in to do. But first, we're going to go to the other end of our long virtual wheeled sofa in the West Midlands for some introductions, audio description, and tell us what you're dressed up to go out to stay in to do this week.
Hello, I'm Tracy, and this week I am dressed up to go out to stay in to go to a story festival, and I'll tell you more about that later. Today I'm here in our Sutton Coldfield office. I have got long blonde hair, which is getting longer and longer. I have got blue eyes, pale skin, and today I'm wearing a orange shirt with lots of little white dots on it. No reason for that, I just like it. And some beige sort of tiger leopardy print trousers. Lovely.
Over to me. Hello, everybody. I'm Robin Surgeon, our business director at Together 2012 and co-host. What do I look like today? So I am wearing a green and white and brownish bobble hat with a huge bobble on the top. Any old fans of the show will know it is actually Joshua's hat. Um, and I'm wearing my new blue-rimmed glasses with blue eyes behind them. I'm pale-skinned at the moment, very pale with the weather, and I'm wearing a long-sleeved, almost like a base layer but zipped top. It's black with a red zip, and then it's got a logo, if anyone can read it, that says Swim Science. And the reason I'm wearing all this stuff is that this weekend is starts the playoffs of the International Swimming League, and I am going out dressed up to go out to stay in to give swim science support to the London Raw swimming team.
That sounds, interesting and slightly confusing as well. What is London Raw?
Okay, so there is something called the International Swimming League. The playoffs are taking place in Eindhoven, hence the need for a woolly hat. London Raw, there are a number of teams from around the world, a few from America and across Europe teams, and London Raw. So they're all made up teams, if you like, and London Raw is the team that is based, unsurprisingly, out of London. Without that sounding obvious, they are the only actually GB based team. There's another one called Energy Standard, which are from Turkey, for example. And yeah, so kind of historically, Adam Peaty has swum for London Raw. Not sure if he is swimming this weekend. Now he's not dancing. Well, I think we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, thank you for that explanation, Robin. So back to East London. I'm Ju Gosling, and today I am dressed up to go out to stay in for the launch of our Together 2021 Disability History Month Festival, which starts today. You have two choices. You can go onto our website www.together2012.org.uk, follow the program links to book. Everything we do is free, and you will just be sent the links along with your tickets from Eventbrite. Or you can go to the festival page on our website and have a look there at the top of the program just before the event starts. That will go live on YouTube. So you don't, in fact, have to get a ticket at all. All you have to do is register. And I'm going to tell you more about what's happening tonight and next week in our usual feature, The Week Ahead, in the second half of the show. So in the meantime, a bit of audio description. I've got a grey trilby over a self-styled hennaed corona crop. I've got pale olive skin with green eyes behind black plastic glasses. I've got black plastic wrist braces, some little bit of silver coloured jewellery this week, and I'm wearing a black shirt with yellow trumpets on it. And that's partly in tribute to Duncan Bridgestock, whose exhibition of collages opens this evening. Again, I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. But as we know from his poetry, Duncan is quite a jazz fan, and I think this is a very jazzy shirt. In the age of COVID and not still being able to get out to a hairdresser, hats are worn. So Judy has a hat as well. But I think if you're not interested in using the dog's trimmers and you are still shielding, then long hair is definitely this year's style, as demonstrated by Julie and Tracy. Just to finish, behind us, we've got the Together graffiti banner. You can only see a little bit of it, but we created that as part of a Summer Together project in 2014 with the organisation Graffiti Life. And it's got representations of all of the art forms we cover in the course of a year. So you can see a bit of drama, literature and spoken word, music. We've also got visual arts, carnival arts, street art, photography, filmmaking, and much, much more. And you can also see our teddy bear just waiting to take part in the Clockwork Paralympics, again, coming up about halfway through the show. And finally, we've been joined by our tabby cat, Jinx, who really likes coming on the show as well, and particularly kind of depositing fur all over Julie's microphone, so she'll be coughing for the rest of the time. Julie, with the cat and the fur, do you want to give us some audio description and tell us what you're dressed up to go out to stay in to do? Or can I guess?
I think you can guess, can't you? What am I doing?
Yes, I'm not going to guess. You just tell people,
Right.
tell people.
Okay. I'm Julie Newman. I'm the chair of Together 2012. I'm a white woman with dark rimmed glasses. I've got medium length gold and silver hair, similar to Tracy. It's growing. It stretches every week. I'm wearing a black fedora. I'm wearing a purple cotton long sleeved shirt and a small tabby cat who I'm trying to keep from jumping on Ju's computer mouse. She clearly thinks, mouse? Ooh, me. But happily, she's staying put at the moment.
Thank you, Judy. So,
sorry, I'm coming to the thing tonight. I'm coming to the opening. I'm so excited, actually. I got very distracted by the small tabby cat. But no, I'm very, very excited. Today is the launch of our Together Festival, our Disability History Month Festival, and it's the 10th. I have to emphasise this.
No, it's the 11th.
Oh, it's the 11th. I thought it was the 10th.
I think I'll just take over for a little bit now and say before we move on, we wanted to acknowledge, of course, that it is the 11th of November. And therefore, we are remembering our war dead, including indeed my great uncle William, who was killed in the First World War. So I think it's worth all of, what does that have to do with disability arts? Well, war and the displacement of people and the poverty and the hunger that goes along with that are still today the leading cause of disability worldwide. And if we want to make life easier for disabled people, well, war and all of its consequences are the things that we need to tackle. We shouldn't see it as completely different. And there are so many people today, either been disabled people who've been displaced by war, who are suffering in war, who've become disabled because of war. Quite a number of them are actually living in East London. This is not just a problem that is taking place in other countries. So we just wanted to stop and remember ourselves for a moment, those things that are so important. But I think having said that, what we will do next is move on to this week's Pop-Up Poetry Club. The Pop-Up Poetry Club takes place by phone on a Wednesday morning from 10:30 to 12. We call you, pay the cost of the call, and it's a group where people can share their work, share work they've found, come together and write on a theme and share their poems. Unfortunately, we did have a problem this week. We couldn't meet by phone, but some people have written their poems and sent them in anyway. The theme this week is glitter and sparkle. We always publish the theme of the Poetry Club on our highlights and links page each week. So I'm going to flag that up next for anybody who's new on our website, together2012.org.uk. Under the main menu for Together 2012 TV, you will find the highlights and links page. It's also linked directly from the Together 2012 page. On it, you will find the poems, the photos, the videos, the artwork we show, and also links to all of the activities we recommend for you online and offline in our feature the week ahead. So do check that page out. But Robin, I'm going to ask you to start, and I believe you have a poem by Dwayne Bryan.
I do indeed. It is called Sparkle and Glitter. Sparkle and glitter can shine on your suit. Sparkle and glitter can shine on your boots. How magical and fabulous it looks. The effect can attract 1,000 looks. I bet it's expensive, may cost an arm and a leg, but don't let the glitter go straight to your head. I see glitter and sparkle on people's suits, so believe you me, they look cute. What would you do if you had something sparkle and glitter? Would you be happy or would you be bitter? If I had lots of money, I'd probably wear the same thing and impress everybody that surrounds me like a ring.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dwayne. And I could really see the kind of tailored suit that he had in mind and thinking, yeah, I want that glittery suit too. But I think like Dwayne, I can't afford it either. But it's one to look out for in the charity shops. So I have a poem from Dawn Barber called Sparkle All the Way. Glitter and sparkle, that's the way to do it. Let's make it a magical time. Let's wear it as a necklace, clothes, things we put on Christmas trees, our shoes, our bags, and so on. It lights up our world. It makes us happy. It sends us into another world that is mysterious. Glitter and sparkles. Life is so much better with you around. And we always say we put the festive into festival. The glitter and sparkles start today. Tracy.
I have one by Crystal Peasy, Glittery Sparkles. I have many shoes with glittery sparkles. I love anything with glitter and sparkles. I also have clothes with glitter and sparkles. I like glittery butterflies. I have different colours of glitter and sparkles on my flat wall. And I have my bracelets with glitter and sparkles. And when I go shopping, if I can see anything with glitter and sparkles, I will buy it. I also buy wool with glitter to make pom-poms. And I believe that pom-poms without glitter are of no interest to me. And anything that glitters and sparkles is very boring. I'm really sorry. And anything not glittery or sparkling is very boring to my eyes.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you for that, Crystal. I do miss seeing you glittering and sparkle in person activities, but hopefully on the Zoom clubs you're also glittering and sparkling a little bit. And we'll tell you more about our club's programme in a moment. Julie, your poem.
Yes, indeed. Excuse me. It's called Glitter and Sparkle. So sorry. The grey cat sits at the window. Her attention is caught by a movement outside in the bushes. The breeze has stirred the wind chimes. It moves, gyrating from one side to the other, as if a spirit inside is trying to break free. The grey cat is mesmerized. Sitting very still, she barely moves. She barely breathes for danger of alerting the mysterious beast dancing in the shrub. The wind picks up, and with a frenzy the chimes respond, beating against the unseen force pushing and pulling. Moving against the wind, the chimes give sound to the force that insists on creating the music. Bells ringing out from the beat of glass against glass. The light catches the angles of the chimes as they fly back and forth, creating a rhythm that is almost demonic in the desperate beating to break free. Little sparkles shine and glitter in the darkness of the leaves, the deep green broken by glimpses of fairies dancing and singing as the world of people brace against the coming storm. The grey cat moves a fraction, her ears tilting as they catch the wonderful cacophony, and knowing that all is well, she gently turns, moving to curl up and sleep.
Oh, thank you, Judy. That was inspired, I think, by our blue and cream cat, Sparkle.
Thank you. Yes, indeed it was. I mean, this is Sparkle's poem, which is why it seems so fitting. But just to say that the theme for next week is Puddles After the Rain.
Puddles After the Rain. So if you'd like to join in from home, we'd love to see your poems. Just send them to info@together2012.org.uk. And if you don't want us to read them out on the stream, we'd like to see them anyway. Just let us know. So we're going to move on and have a look at what the Together Art Club have been doing this week. The Art Club meets on a Tuesday and a Friday on Zoom from 11 to 12. And we're going to have a look first at the still life sessions from last Friday. What happens at the still life is that Alison Marchant, the artist and our part-time clubs program leader, sets up an image and photographs it, and then she shares that on Zoom. She can also, if it's easier, text, email, or WhatsApp the image to you, and then we put it up on the highlights and links page to be able to join in from home. So that's the art club. Let's have a look at the still life image, and Robin, as traditional, we're going to ask you to audio describe it without having seen it.
Well, we have a very colourful picture here. It is a pyramid of balls of wool in orange, yellow, green, blue, mauve, pink, deeper orange, a couple of other colours, and a couple of devices, some plastic wheels like pulley wheels. Now, I don't know if they're anything to do with knitting or
Oh, they're
balls of wool.
pom-pom makers, Robin. They're pom-pom makers.
Oh, I apologise to those who already know that. And in the forefront are a blue, a green, and a pink pom-pom maker of different sizes to make different pom-poms, but a really rich, vibrant picture.
Great. So let's have a look at some of the work from last week. So this first one is Kate Rollison's, and Kate is also now starting work as our youth development worker, and I think that's in coloured pencils, but I'm not entirely sure. These images have been made from the artist holding up their pictures onto Zoom. So this one is by Lee Brooker, and this is coloured pencil and also pastel. And he's used the pastel very effectively for the shadow as well. So, beautifully. What Lee's done is sort of really focused on the textures and sort of muted the colours. And one of the things I love about seeing still life each week is that everybody approaches it differently. So this is by Sophia, and this is in felt pen. And Sophia's very cleverly drawn the shapes of the yarn, and very, another very, very effective one. Then this is by Cheryl McClellan, who's used very bright coloured pencils and has also taken the colour in those pencils and taken it out to really create a sort of pyramid shape of shadow in a really, really interesting way. Again, it's just so great to see how everybody does it differently. So this is Crystal Peasy, and Crystal has outlined it in pencil and then painted it. Crystal always slightly sort of rethinks where the thing is and imagines herself in a slightly different position. And I think she's done that again this time, which I always find really interesting. And then finally, this is by Dwayne Bryan. And Dwayne has painted his, he's really sort of used very, very vibrant colours. He's managed to get, I think, probably by using coloured pencils, or simply by drawing it or painting it in a sort of slightly stronger way, that he's managed to get the texture of the wool in, even though he's used paint. So really interesting technique. Thank you for that, Dwayne, and thanks to all the artists who've shared their work. And now we're going to have a look at what they were doing on Tuesday in the Make and Natter session. The Make and Natter session, it's pretty much does what it says on the tin. Bring a craft project along, show it to other people, get some feedback, have a bit of company while you're working on it, or take part in a craft activity using recycled materials that you have at home. That craft activity, again, is usually led by Alison Marchant, but this week, Kate Rollison, our new youth development worker, came along and previewed an activity that we're going to be releasing to the public on Saturday. So with our festival, every Saturday we'll be releasing a family activity that you can access and download in your own time. So they'll be video based. And Kate this Saturday is releasing an activity making paper lanterns, which are so versatile. So let's just have a look at a couple of lanterns that people made, yes, this Tuesday. So this is Sophia, and in the course of an hour, Sophia has managed to make, well, I say at least 3 lanterns, which we can see there, and she's decorated every one of them differently as well. So it's obviously a very accessible activity and very, very effective. I can imagine hanging these sort of lanterns up for all sorts of festivals. So then this one is different again. This is Margaret Spence. And Margaret's, again, it's decorated in a different way again. And Margaret's drawn different things I can see: a blue triangle, a purple heart, a red flower. They're just so effective. So look out. These are not just for families. If you, indeed, these were all created by adults who thoroughly enjoyed them. And I'm going to have a go as soon as I've got some time. So check out the festival website every Saturday for a new craft activity. As always, accessible, inclusive, and based on things you already have at home. Did you want to give us some feedback on that, Tracy, as our craft expert?
Well, actually, I think they look lovely. They are quite an easy thing to make. And as you said, Ju, they can be used for any festival or celebration, or just put up just to make you feel a bit happier. Yeah, they're really lovely.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we've just got one more bit of craft before we move on again, and we're going to be joining in with Sterre, which is a very welcome return. We haven't had any films from Sterre for a couple of weeks, really due to internet problems at their end, because Sterre is still shielding in a barn in a Norfolk wood. So if it's windy, and it was windy for more than a week, the internet connection that they managed to get from the nearby campsite, well, let's just say it's not very reliable, let alone fit to send films. This activity we would have shown last week, and you'll see why. But I think it's the kind of thing that you can enjoy doing at any time. So without further ado, and we'll give you a bit of audio description afterwards.
Hi, I'm Sterre. This is Merlo the dog. And I made a spider. It was beautiful. Bye.
So, bit of audio description for anybody who couldn't see that video. What Sterre did was gather some conkers, make some holes in them to insert sticks, and then made so that it became, I thought, like a dream catcher. Actually, these were turned into sort of spider webs, but actually they also looked very like dream catchers. So she put some little sticks in, I think probably from the kitchen. You know, you can get those sort of disposable sticks for barbecues and things, can't you? But really, you could use anything similar. Ah, Robin wants to join in, but can't get his mute off his microphone. There you go, Robin. You wanted to interrupt.
Not so much. Well, I won't let you know that we couldn't speak, but also actually, I thought it was fascinating. Thought it was really, really.
Finish the audio description then. So what they did once they put the sticks in was wind string round, which is where it started looking like a spider's web, but also a dream catcher, and finish that off with some glitter paint, so that the conker became a spider and the web became very, very glittery. I thought it was a very clever idea, and in fact, just show you this. Somebody, there we go. Emily Welsh says, "What a clever idea." But I did think the general idea you could also use for dream catchers. So, you know, not many conker trees in this part of Newham, even if I was going out. But if you're somewhere with conkers, you know, then it's a craft with conkers that I hadn't actually thought of. Over
Yeah,
to you.
I think I hadn't seen that before, and I think it would make a fantastic craft for me to do with my girls' brigade. And the fact that it had glitter paint on it just meant that it fitted in with this week's title about glitter and sparkle. So I loved it.
It certainly did. So thank you again, Sterre. And Sterre will be back with a new activity next week. But in the meantime, if you go to our Join In From Home website link and go down to Join In with Sterre, there's lots and lots more of these very simple, very accessible, inclusive, incredibly clever activities that are sort of, yeah, craft, but also, you know, get very, very close. And indeed, you know, certainly very definitely art, fine art in some cases. So check that out on the website www.together2012.org.uk. Now it's time for our traditional Clockwork Paralympics. We race clockwork toys. For all sorts of reasons, really, but mostly for fun. And whoever wins gets the opportunity to put a medal on their teddy bear for the next week. Our teddy bears are taking part in the virtual bear hunt, which is about putting teddy bears onto live streams for children, particularly children who are also at home for various reasons and not able to go out. So do introduce us to your teddy, Robin.
This is Checo. Checo is a beanie bear, probably about 15, 20 centimeters tall. He's red, very red, in fact, and has a Mexican flag on his chest. And we've called him Checo because of the Formula One driver Checo, who drives for Red Bull, but this is the Red Bear.
Wonderful. And Julie on her shoulder, I think she's trying to move further and further away from me. I'm just going to move your chair back. Thank you, Julie. I want to be with the teddy as well. So Julie has Ted Fringe, who is a small golden bear with a purple sweatshirt that says Ted Fringe. And he comes, unsurprisingly, from the Edinburgh Festival. And I partly chose Ted this week because, well, we have the Edinburgh Fringe Festival represented at our conference on the Wednesday, the 24th of November, on organising inclusive events in the age of COVID-19. It's going to be an amazing festival. We have the Events Industry Forum, we have the Association of Festival Organisers, we have Queer House Party, we have Hackney Carnival, we have Mahogany Carnival Design, and many more guests. So Ted is very much hoping that we might be successful. We got them to wear a medal last week, but it was the first time in a very long time. What happens is I pre-record the race. Robin and Tracy choose which side of the screen to support before we start the video, and you can also do that at home. We have Winter Paralympians racing at the moment, so we've got snowmen doing a sprint. They're not the kind of most active snowmen. They don't go for the longest distance, but then, of course, they do melt quite easily with the central heating as well. It's much, much milder down here in East London still. So do you want the snowman on the right or the left of the screen?
The right.
And we'll get Robin, as usual, our resident Paralympian, to do a bit of commentary.
So here we are returning to the Paralympic winter racetrack. Our competitors are wound up and ready to go, as they say. Well, they are really going for it this week. Oh, there seems to be some interference going on. There could be a clash. There might have to be a judge's inquiry into what's going on here. Oh no, I think though that I believe, even though they crossed paths, that the snowman from London has again won them the medal this week, and I think deservedly after some interference from the Commonwealth competitor.
Well, Ted Fringe is very honoured to wear his 2012 medal, which indeed was a gold plastic medal that was given out at the very first and supposedly then the only Together 2012 Open exhibition. The Open exhibition that we open tonight is actually our 10th. So there you go. I can't believe that this is our 10th festival. But first, I'm going to have a look at the week ahead in terms of the other exhibitions we're launching tonight, just because I've got those pictures lined up first. So for anybody who's been watching the show for a while, one of the things that we've always enjoyed seeing are Duncan Bridgestock's collages that he's been making from recycled card at the art club sessions, but we've only ever seen Duncan holding them up to a zoom camera with not a very good signal. So I'm not going to have time for Robin to do lots of audio description with these, but come along, this is just a very quick preview. So I'm going to show you 3 collages that have been scanned and shown as digital prints, which is what we're doing in this exhibition. And the exhibition title is Because I Felt Like It. So this one is called Improv. And it's mostly made up from a community newsletter. What I've really realised through looking at all of Duncan's collages, and we have more than 50 in the exhibition, is that he's really sort of chosen materials that everybody has kind of used in lockdown. The community newsletters, the different teas and the infusions, the occasional box of chocolates, the occasional snack bowl of cereal, the high blood pressure tablets, and just absolutely beautiful. This one is called Rehearsing for a Nervous Breakdown. Julie because Duncan hasn't got a great Zoom signal, Julie has recorded, just to be on the safe side, a fascinating 5-minute interview with him, which will be played this evening if we can't get a decent signal. And Duncan talks about his history of making collages, the sort of great art figures of collage who've inspired him, and how he decided lots of his I say lots, maybe about half of Duncan's collages use L shapes, and why he decided to use L shapes. So all of that and more will be taking place tonight. It's entirely free, so do come along. So I'm just going to show you one more of Duncan's, and this is called Figure It Out. And there you can see little bits of a crossword from a newsletter. You can see some tea packets. Some things I'm not even sure what they are, but they just look absolutely great online. And I'd like to say thank you to Emily Welsh, who did all of the scanning. What did you think, Robin? You've been audio describing Duncan's collages for some time.
They really come to life actually in that scanned form, where the kind of the quality of the image comes through, and I think the titles actually really do add something to making an interpretation of what you're obviously it's your own interpretation, but they make sense. They really do. And I thought I'm looking forward to kind of going through the whole lot.
Yes, I mean there's a lot of references within Duncan's work to music, to other art figures, and his exhibition actually goes very, very well with this next exhibition that I'm going to introduce, which we're opening this evening. And that's Vince Law's, and it's called Painting Myself Happy. And like Duncan, he turned to making art during the first lockdown and subsequent lockdowns and shielding as a way of improving his mental health and well-being, or securing his mental health and well-being. And just like Duncan, he's also referenced within his work, which has had lots of original work, has also referenced art figures from history. And so I'm going to show you 3 now, which all reference Van Gogh. And the first one is simply called Selfie with Van Gogh, which kind of does what it says on the tin. You've got a picture of Van Gogh with Vince on the left, all painted in the style of Van Gogh. And on the exhibition website, what you have are some descriptions under each picture. There's also the option to play an audio file rather than read them, but all of the descriptions about how and why he made the work. So this next one is called Hugging Van Gogh. And indeed, for anybody who can't see it, that's exactly it. It's Vince now, slightly less Van Gogh style, but still pretty much merged, hugging Van Gogh with sunflowers in the background. And he explains on the website that he'd been reading more about Van Gogh at that point, and just really wanted to give him a hug. And finally, this one is called Making Van Gogh Smile. And we have an extra exhibition, which is, I think, 11 or 12 images showing the different stages that this painting went through and the thinking behind it. It's absolutely fascinating. The things that were in this picture to start with and then came out again and then got added and then got changed. I think it's one of the advantages of working in oil paint, as he rightly says in the show. You can scrape it off, you can start again, you can paint things over it. But I really, really recommend, if you don't want to read or have difficulties accessing the written text in this sort of series, Making Van Gogh Smile, then I've also put a video at the top of the exhibition which shows the different pictures and Vince reads the text. So yeah, it's just really, I can't recommend it highly enough. So finally, here are some images from the 10th annual Together Open exhibition. And the open exhibition is always just a riot of colour and all sorts of completely different works. It brings together amateur artists, community artists, and the difference, I think, we sort of think is, you're an amateur if you maybe make a picture occasionally. If you do it every week, you're a community artist. If you're trying to earn money at it, you're a semi-professional or a professional or an aspiring professional artist. And all of that work comes together by disabled people who have some kind of connection to Newham. They may have grown up here, gone to school or college here, worked here, volunteered here, now or in the past. So this is Laura Pickering, and she's part of the Art for Fun group, and it's untitled, but for anybody who can't see it, it's a beautiful, very, very accurate outline where you can see the Isle of Dogs, I think from Greenwich, but I'm not familiar enough with the London skyline, having not been out for so long, to be exactly sure, and it isn't titled, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful drawing. This next one is equally beautiful, but completely different. And this is from our very own Sterre Ploeger. And what Sterre's done is use canvas and different shades of autumn colours, so different shades of browns and golds. She's started with paint on the canvas, then she's put leaves on the canvas, and then she's put appropriately coloured glitter on everything else. So I just wanted to show you that because I don't think we've seen Sterre doing anything like that in Join In from Sterre, but it just looks really, really interesting. And finally, from the open exhibition, I wanted to show you this picture by our very own Julie Newman. And it's, well, you tell us a little bit about it, Julie, but I particularly wanted to put it in because in Something for the Weekend and our previous show, Together Unlocked, Julie's always talked to us a great deal about astronomy and the sky.
Thanks, Ju. This is the view that was seen by the excuse me, the little mechanical exploring machine that was dropped onto Mars in February of this year. This was the first sighting that they sent back to NASA. I was so impressed at it because it wasn't what I expected to see. I still carry images from, I suppose, the early 19th century of Mars as a red planet with straight lines of canals. So it's amazing to see the updated actual version of the real life Mars.
And did you say this is watercolor?
Yes, yes.
So it's watercolor from a NASA photo, or inspired by a NASA photo?
Inspired by a NASA photo. I mean, it's very loose. It's actually more impressionistic than accurate. But yes, it was inspired by the NASA photograph.
So yeah, I really like that, I have to say. And let me just take it off for now, though.
Thank you.
So yes, I'm even going to get a frame and take something else down in the studio and put it up.
Goodness me, what can I say?
Well, there are occasions, I think, that all of us would say when it might be quite nice to be on Mars, so it's nice to be dreaming of it. I also want to flag up that from now on and for the next, well, right up until our end of festival party on the 9th of December, where Robin is going to be playing and introducing some of the musicians that have appeared on our live streams this year. We have something every Tuesday and Thursday evening. It's always from 7 to 8. It's always on Zoom, or you can pick it up on the live stream embedded at the top of the program page. There's Zoom webinars, so you don't have to worry about sort of tidying your hair, tidying your kitchen, because we don't let you put your camera and microphone on unless you're actually taking part. But you can communicate with all of the people who are there using live chat. So you can live chat with the audience. If you see other people there, but you can also ask questions. All of our events include conversations, and conversations that the audiences can contribute to. So if we have performances and plays and things, all of them will be followed by an opportunity for us to talk to the artists and learn more about their work. So next week, I'm delighted to say that Sign Dance Collective, who've been really, I think, were first with us 10 years ago in 2012 and very generously have often come back since, are presenting, well, they're previewing excerpts of their new show, Oriente Plus. Get that right, Ju. But it's spelt properly, and but far more details are on the website. It's a really interesting dance production. It's influenced and developed from Caribbean stories, and they're going to be performing it from home, not even together, but across 2 or possibly even 3 continents. And then next Thursday, Julie Newman is having a laugh with 3 very interesting poets and comedians. Helena Askoff, Wendy Young, and Cheryl McClelland will all be there entertaining you. It's not a women's night, it's women performers. We're featuring men's night, but it's not a men's night, it's for everybody. So I do encourage you to come along to that. Wendy has been performing her poetry for many years. So has Cheryl, although Cheryl is recently returning after a break. Helena is young and upcoming, and indeed from the north of England. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. And like I say, on a Saturday, you can download a family craft activity or storytelling activity and just enjoy that in your own time. So we've got just a few minutes to look at some other things that are happening this week. Robin, what would you recommend?
The first one for me is actually going to be an Xbox game. We haven't revisited games since Josh parted from the show. Really, it's Forza Horizon 5. I'm going to very quickly. It is a car racing game set in Mexico, and it's a huge game. It is expensive, but the amount of hours of enjoyment you get out of it ends up being, you're paying pennies per hour to play when you kind of add it all up. But one of the really interesting things about it, which I thought wanted it to be relevant, is that you get to design your character. Um, and in this version of the game, you can have various impairments and prosthetics, in with colors, tattoos on your prosthetics, all number of things. Which is so you can be a disabled driver, and it also allows you to choose your own gender assignment as well. So I just thought it was, something a little bit different within a game that we've not really seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, the racing games are very popular. If you're going to spend money, it's good to get, yes, like you say, hours of enjoyment from. I'm just going to chuck in a couple because these are disability arts related and I don't want us to lose them. Daryl Beaton, who is a disabled director and somebody that I think Robin and I have both known off and on for a number of years, is running a free online session next Thursday at 6 o'clock called Making Accessible Theatre. And he's just sharing his tips on how to integrate accessibility into theatre productions. And then earlier that day, next Thursday, the 18th of November, from 11 to 12:30, Sense Arts are doing an online sharing. They're launching some new studios. They're offering they're encouraging you to explore their online digital offer, which is national, and it's got BSL interpretation, captioning, and audio description. It sounds really interesting. I'd like to know more about Sense Arts online myself, so I'm definitely going to be checking that out. Tracy, what have you got for us?
I've got one and related to what I was doing for the weekend. It's the Yorkshire Festival of Stories, and it's running from the 12th to the 28th of November. And it's an opportunity to listen to some stories through history, through time, myths and feminism, and that will also have a question and answer session, so there's opportunity to ask questions and take part. Yeah, and I think it could be very interesting, so I definitely recommend that.
And it's another of those times when you might never have the money to go up to Yorkshire and all of a sudden we can access it. Julie, very quickly, what have you got for us?
I'm excuse me, I'm doing virtual tours this week in the highlights for the week ahead. The first is a virtual tour by the curator of the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
And the other one will be listed on the website as Julie's being completely sabotaged by the tabby cat now. I've got time for maybe one more. Robin and Tracy, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I've got one called Speaking Volumes on Childhood Memories, and it's a Zoom presentation from the British Library, and it's all about looking at and creating stories about our childhoods and how we change throughout time and where who we were as children gets lost or not depending on our experiences, negative and positive. Again, I think it looks a really informative experience.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. And as always, there are lots and lots and lots of free online activities out there. Log into something like Eventbrite or the list, just search for free online events, and you'll be amazed at how many come up. But that's it for this week, I think. Robin, you've interviewed Ellen Clifford, so we're going to hear that in a moment. And I think that's all we've got time for because I'm really looking forward to the Ellen Clifford interview. But if you haven't got tickets for the open exhibition, the opening of Vince Law's, Duncan Bridgestock, we've even got the Mayor of Newham, Roxana Diaz, coming tonight. So just go onto our website, www.together2012.org.uk, look at the Together Disability History Month Festival programme. You've got much more information about every single event. You've got booking links for every event. Or if you don't want to be bothered with any of that, or it's not accessible to you, just click back onto the festival programme at 7 o'clock on the event night, and by magic, the YouTube stream should pop up there. And if it doesn't, please let us know somewhere or other by live chat, email, or text. But otherwise, that's it from us in East London from this week. And I'm really looking forward to Robin's interview.
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, I'm just going to. We have an interview with Ellen Clifford. Ellen Clifford is a long-time disability rights activist and many other issues, talking about a book she's written. And I'll just say there are no holds barred in this. There are some quite strong issues. So just be aware she's talking about those.
Just wanted to say we'll have further details of Ellen's book on the highlights and links page.
Hi viewers, today I am talking with Ellen Clifford, renowned activist and author. I would like you to introduce yourself.
Hello, audience of Together. It's really good to be speaking to you. I would describe myself as a disabled activist, first and foremost. I've also worked in the disability sector, mainly within deaf and disabled people's user-led organisations for longer than I care to remember, over 20 years. Yes, and I had the opportunity to write a book, so now apparently I'm a writer as well.
So what led you to activism in the first place? And what do you describe activism to mean?
For me, activism is, I suppose it's a bit stronger than campaigning, because I think campaigning can be done in many different ways. And certainly within Disabled People Against Cuts, DPAC, which I've been a member of since 2011, we've used every tool in the campaign's box to try and hold back the cuts that have occurred that have disproportionately hit disabled people. So we've used legal challenges. We managed to trigger an unprecedented United Nations investigation, and that's meant a lot of collating evidence and reporting. So that's another thing I work on: lobbying MPs, etc., petitions, trying to raise awareness. But for me, activism, I suppose, is where you're also prepared to take the step of civil disobedience to try and change society for the better, where you see that that's the only option open to you.
So stopping buses, sitting in Parliament Square, that kind of activity.
Yeah, peaceful civil disobedience.
So just thinking a little bit more about activism, at some point you've made a decision that you wanted to not just affect what's going on in terms of the politics, but also other people around understanding activism and rights. How did that come about?
I think through probably the political analysis that I have come to through my years of being involved in the disability sector and campaigning for deaf and disabled people's rights, I came to the analysis that the only way that we can affect the level of change that we need in order to achieve full inclusion and equality for deaf and disabled people is to win fundamental change in society. And in order to do that, because we're not, the many of us don't hold the power in society, it needs the many of us to come together collectively to force through that change, because that level of change is never handed down from above. History tells us that. It's something that we have to fight for and demand from below.
It has led you to wanting to write about it, to spread the word. So your most recent, perhaps first book, but still most recent, is, I'm going to get the title so I don't get it wrong, is entitled The War on Disabled People, Capitalism, Welfare, and the Making of a Human Catastrophe. In a nutshell, what's the book about?
So the book actually covers the period from 2010 up until the end of 2019 was when I really finished drafting it, and it covers the period of unprecedented cuts that disproportionately affected disabled people that were taken forward as part of the legislative and policy changes, badged as reforms, that the successive governments took forward over that period, and the impact that those had on disabled people.
Even though it is your first book, you actually been nominated and received an award. Would you like to tell us a bit about that award?
So there's an alliance of radical booksellers. So those are booksellers who stock books that have anti-capitalist analyses, be that anarchist, socialist, the full spectrum. They have an alliance and they have an annual award that started in 2012, and that award is for radical publishing. This is the first book that deals with
disability and the oppression of disabled people to win. So I think that felt quite significant. One of the frustrations that I came across in researching for the book was disabled people feeling that non-disabled people really aren't interested in disability, and in the social model of disability, which is the cornerstone really of disability campaigning in Britain. And we always want to tell people about the social model, and we get frustrated when they don't seem to be interested. I mean, the analysis in the book is that the dominant ideas in society are ones that people unconsciously take on board, and unfortunately the dominant ideas in society about disability are negative ones. They're ones that portray us as passive victims, as burdens on society. Sometimes they portray it as a very personal matter, an individual matter, rather than the deeply political collective issue that it is. And I think once people realize that, suddenly disability becomes more interesting to them. They see that it is actually relevant to society, rather than just being a personal matter for an individual, how terrible that person's life is. And it did so, winning the award and having a panel of non-disabled judges make the award. It kind of felt like maybe this could be a bit of a breakthrough moment, where more people are starting to take notice of our politics in a serious way, but actually in a way that means there's serious engagement with our issues.
What's next for Ellen Clifford?
I'm currently involved with Reclaiming Our Futures. Well, I'm constantly involved with Reclaiming Our Futures Alliance, but in a current capacity is working on the next shadow report for the United Nations. So feeding back on how the government's done or hasn't done on the recommendations that the Disability Committee previously set for them. That's a piece of paid work. But then I am negotiations for a new book, going to be a book on COVID and disability. Taking an international perspective, not just what happened here, but looking at the disproportionate impact. And we know that in the UK, at least 60% of COVID related deaths were disabled people. That's just a minimum estimate, and yet I think there wasn't the kind of outcry that disabled people feel there ought to have been. We know that disabled people were deprioritised for health treatment, and this is similar picture all across the world. And at the same time, there are more and more countries enacting legislation that makes it easier for disabled people to die through legalising assisted suicide. So it's looking at those sort of questions of the right to life in the current era for disabled people. One of the things I will be negotiating in the contract stage is an audio book. The War on Disabled People being my first book. I didn't realise that's when you need to get these things signed off. And Bloomsbury did actually agree to an audio book in the end, but then there was the pandemic and they stopped recording. So I'm told the audio book will be out in December. For the War on Disabled People, I did an easy read summary, and Deepak also got that translated into BSL, which are available to try and make it more accessible, because it is a big thing with books. Issues around accessibility.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time. Wish you luck with writing it, and look forward to reading it, or probably listening to it, if I'm honest. Thank you, Ellen.
Thanks, Robin.